That's any better. And so does anybody have any questions about the syllabus, about last time's lecture, about the homework? And I don't know how this works. I think basically you should just shout.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
I guess it's a little bit about last lecture, but it's definitely related to the homework. But I was taking a look at Bernoulli random variables, and so variables with varying probabilities.
Yep.
And I was struggling a little bit, I think, understanding making the leap into the variance. So in Gillespie, the textbook, it talks about how variance, so we know that the mean is P, the variance is P times Q. But as I was trying to finagle with some of the equations, I just kind of ended up, I couldn't get Q. I couldn't really understand how to even extract Q because it's equal to 1 minus P, but I couldn't get the 1 minus P. I was getting like 1 minus P squared, and I was just trying to follow that math.
You're getting 1 minus P squared.
I think I might have just been plugging things in incorrectly, but
so,
maybe just going over that concept would be helpful.
Yeah. So I'm not sure there's a good way to, maybe we should just do that problem. Oh, let's see. I didn't do the stupid thing. Let's see. Let's see. So because problem 1 is so essential, let's just do it together, shall we? So let's see how this works. Share screen. Share screen. Preview homework 1 answers. Share. Can you guys see what looks like a PDF?
Yes.
So problem 1, we're going to let x be a Bernoulli random variable, which means x can equal 1 or 0, and with probability p, x equals 1. Therefore, with probability 1 minus p, it's equal to 0. And the problem is going to ask us for stuff like the expectation of x, the expectation of x squared, the expectation of x to the k, and the variance. So this is just plugging into definitions. So for the expectation of x, you get something like 1 times p, and 1 minus p times 0, which gives you a p. When you want to do the variance, again, we just plug into the definition. It is the expectation of x minus the quantity, minus its expectation, quantity squared. So again, plugging into the definition, that's when x can take on values 0 and 1 with probability 1, it takes on the value, with probability p, it takes on the value of 1. The expectation is p. So that is 1 minus, that is the bit here, 1 minus p quantity squared times p, plus with probability 1 minus p, it takes on value 0. That's the 0 minus p quantity squared, which we get. Now, you can sort of imagine we can pull out a 1 minus p from this term, and that term looks like p squared. So you can pull out a p, a 1 minus p, and you're left with a 1 minus p and 1 plus p. That cancels, and you get p 1 minus p. It's nothing more than silly algebra like that.
Okay, cool. I think maybe I was probably plugging some things in, taking the square root, trying to look at what I did in my math to sort of get there.
It's nothing more than the definition of expectation, which is the probability times the value. And here we have a function, so it's the probability times the value, and that function has a square in it, summed over all values. It's exactly like we did in the lecture over again.
Okay.
So I had a question that kind of builds off this a little bit in the later questions on the homework. Some of them, I think it's 4, 5, and 6, talk about kind of pairing two Bernoulli random variables together where there's an if statement, right?
Yep.
And I couldn't quite figure out how to set that up correctly, because it's confusing me in terms of what's the outcome for when there's, two of them related to each other. And I don't know if there's a way to think about that and set it up that I'm missing.
So, okay, hold on. Let me share screen.
And more just in terms of how to find the mean.
Yep.
The probability wasn't as, I got that
Yep.
figured out, but
Yep, no, I'm with you. So for problem 3, here's how I sort of think about it. I just start out making a table. I've got x1 and I've got x2 in the table, and I've got s, which is defined as the sum of x1 and x2. And then I just damn well list all possibilities. x1 could be 0, x2 could be 0. x1 could be 0, x2 could be 1. x1 could be 1, x2 could be, so forth. And then I write down the probability of all those outcomes. And then I answer, and then I write down what s has to be given what x1 and x2 are. And then I answer the questions about s. Does that make sense? So that's problem 3, only has a few outcomes. Problem 4 has a bigger table. Problem 5 maybe has an even uglier looking table, and so forth. There are multiple ways of doing the problems, and there are quick ways of doing the problems that do not involve writing out that explicit table. And we will maybe talk about those other ways of doing the problems in class. Why is my Zoom? Oh, I have to stop sharing my screen. That's what I have to do. Sorry. We'll maybe talk about some of the slicker ways of doing the problems using conditional expectations and or some transformations of variables during class if we have time. But the absolute dumbest way for you to do the problem is to enumerate every possible outcome, enumerate every possible probability of those outcomes, sum over all of that. And
So
I promise you, you'll get the right answer doing it that way.
when we're writing out,
algebra.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just, as a follow-up to that, I think that's kind of what I tried to do, but I noticed that when I was trying to write out the variance per se, like I have these terms that turned out to be really large. And when we're writing the homework up for you, do you want us to literally write out the entire thing? Or if we already solved for like the expectation, can we just write expectation and not like what it is and all that?
I think you should write your solution in a way that conveys what you mean as succinctly and clearly as possible, if that makes sense. So if it would be helpful to regularly substitute one variable for another, I would suggest doing that. And sometimes we'll find that that these little substitutions are a good idea and that they can make the solution look neat. And other times we'll find if we do the wrong substitution or the substitution too early, it won't simplify quite as much as it might have. Your solution will still be correct, but it might not be quite as slick looking as it could have been had you found the right substitution at the right time rather than whatever you did. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I have a question that kind of goes along with that. In terms of when we're showing our work, I know we have to present everything. Should we just, is it okay as long as you can follow the flow of thought when we're explaining it, when we're presenting our answers?
So the goal is when you present your answers, there are 17 or 20 other people in the class who understood your answer. The notion is going to be not infrequently, you will have the answer and your classmates won't. And the goal is for you to be teaching your classmates how to do it. And so it needs enough detail so the other 17 people who couldn't do it as well as you did understand everything you've done. Does that make sense?
Okay, and then, yes, following up, when we're presenting, will you say like, okay, Mega, you do number 4, and then I do A, B, C, D, E, or would it be like 4A?
It's more likely I'm going to say 4A than,
Okay.
but mostly just to make sure everybody's got a chance.
Okay.
This is a general question actually about just homework and presentations in general. Do you prefer us to turn in like a Word document, so typing out our answers and typing out the flow, or can we handwrite and scan a PDF? Do you have a preference?
I have a preference for you to get through the class learning as much as possible. So if you want my recommendation, I'd say type it up in LaTeX, because that's probably the easiest way to write it out quickly. And learning LaTeX would be a good thing for your career. But if you don't believe that, I would then recommend you do it in whatever fashion you find easiest and most useful to you. And I will not be surprised if almost all of you end up doing it by hand, crossing stuff out, having like miserably ugly sheets of paper that you then like shoot on your phone 5 times and email me. That is what I expect I will probably get. Mostly a crazy quilt attempts to do these problems, often with failed attempts crossed out and shots from your camera, because that's just the way things happen. But if you have time to write it up beautifully, I encourage that. Like if you have time to and you would find it helpful, do it. But you will be judged by your classmates based on handwriting, if you know what I mean. When you put up your ugly looking thing, your classmates will probably laugh at you. Other questions?
I'm wondering if there will be a place for us to submit on Canvas, or should we just submit by email?
Oh, I'm not good enough with Canvas. Just email it to me. Email is probably best. And if we find email failing, we'll figure out a Dropbox or something. I suppose email does have restrictions for like 5 to 15 megabytes type thing. So if the homework starts turning into documents that are much longer than that, we'll figure out another solution. But let's just start with email. Other questions? Okay, so you all will email me your homework sometime between now and when class starts next Tuesday. And when class starts Tuesday, I'll start calling on you guys to do some problems for us. Okay, that's about all I got to say about class. Does anyone wish to see if they can share their screen?
Sure, I'll go first.
Go for it, Brooke.
All right, let's share my, oh wait, let me actually throw something up that's fun to look at rather than the nightmare that I have of different Unix shells.
Yep.
So
We don't want to read your email right now.
no, for sure. Let's look at. Okay. Whoop. All right, Zoom. Share screen.
Looks like it's starting. Oh, puppies.
Very cute puppy. Although this is about not adopting from not a bad place. So, ta-da! Looks like I can do it. Very good.
And you should have seen lots of different windows that offer to let you share, right?
Yes, yeah, and then also, I guess just to test this out as well, I know that there's an annotate feature,
Ooh.
so this might be good for presenting. Can you see me writing on the screen?
Yeah, you've drawn a happy face on top of your puppy.
Excellent. Okay, very good. So that's something that might be useful to some people.
How did you pull up that pen?
So there is a bar when you open up share screen. Your options bar should say next to pause share, there should be a little pencil that says annotate. And so that annotate then will pull up another bar underneath that gives you a couple different drawing options. So one of them being a freehand, one of them being a mouse. So now I think you can see my mouse. There's a stamp, there's a spotlight. So I'll stop sharing my screen and then others can see that.
Excellent. Anybody else want to give it a try?
I can go.
Excellent.
I don't have as cool of a thing, but I guess I can share my the PowerPoint I'm going to be presenting in lab meeting tomorrow.
There you go.
So where is the annotate stuff?
So look at your top bar where you've effectively made your, it like has your share screen. Sort of, yeah.
I thought it was at the bottom. Cool.
Right at the top.
Awesome.
And we're now seeing effectively like presenter mode, so I can see all your other slides.
Yeah.
If you put it into like full screen mode, you'll only be showing me the bit that you want to, rather than your secret notes.
Isn't there a way to show you guys this and
Yep,
I get a different view?
There is
Yeah.
probably with two screens. I don't know with one. There is.
There is actually, so you can actually set up your PowerPoint so that it shows up in a new window. So I forget what the options are. Let me look at them and I'll put them in the chat.
Cool.
You can also do presenter mode and just like crop to the little bit that shows your presentation. So we all just see that section of your screen if you only have one screen.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I can stop sharing, let others do.
The other thing you can do is we can all annotate on your screen as well. Like I just put an arrow there.
Oh, that's cool.
So if anybody wants to print something out, they just can use the annotate functions on other people's.
There you go. That's cool. Anybody else want to take a shot?
I can go. I don't have anything super fun to share. Here's the paper I'm reading today.
Yeah.
Everything works.
Nice Nancy Cox paper. Very good. Anybody else want to take a shot? We're all comfortable. Yeah,
So I took over,
there you go.
but
Look,
I don't know, like in my case, I had screen sharing because whenever I have R open, it's like glitchy. You can see my computer like glitching out.
Mm,
Zoom takes a lot of memory, I think.
yeah. This is still pretty clear. I mean, I can, you know, we can see all those heat plots very nicely. Anybody else need to go?
Can I try sharing from my iPad?
You bet.
Let's see. I
Planning on
did
doing the
this
homework with
one.
your finger on your iPad and then sharing that?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. Okay. And
Wow.
then I guess I could share it from like this, like.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Very good. This will work too.
Alright.
How did
That's
you do
almost
that?
like doing it real time on Blackboard, on the Blackboard.
Well, I joined this Zoom from my iPad and then shared the screen on my iPad. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else want to take a practice?
I can go.
Yeah, I'm not meaning to push anybody. I just want to make sure everybody is comfortable. If they are otherwise, if they would have, I don't want the first time you have to learn the technology to be when you're nervous about doing a problem. So go ahead, Chris.
All right. So that should be the CNN homepage in case anyone wants to see the news.
All I'm seeing right, oh, there it is. Yep, just took a second.
That it? Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, these things presumably also work much better with, higher bandwidth. If you've sort of one of the lessons I've learned from hard experience is the fancy backgrounds Zoom allows you to do are often bandwidth and CPU hogs. So if you are ever experiencing jittery displays or lags, the first guess is to one of the most helpful things you can do is shut off any backgrounds you have. It helps both the bandwidth and the computer. Other questions? Anybody else want to play?
I'll share my screen. Oh,
I already shared mine.
All
I'm
good.
Marissa. This is Nokia. It's very interesting if you haven't heard about what's happening. So it works.
Excellent. And yeah, it's always fun to screw short sellers.
let's see. It's this cool paper about neural networks.
There you go. That looks great.
And I think this is just the screen, so it might, or I mean, it's just the window, so it also like becomes a little bigger and whatnot. So
Yeah, I bet you could go full screen on the PDF so that we can be able to see the side page and stuff.
yeah.
A full window, so to speak. Anybody else need to try? Oh, look at that.
I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
I guess you can see that I'm trying to do the homework on Google Colab, which is basically IPython notebook. And so instead of LaTeX, you could also, well, I guess this is HTML, but it's basically the same syntax as LaTeX.
It's basically LaTeX, isn't it? Yep.
Yes. And I guess later in the semester, we have to do some plotting. So this is, I could just do this directly in the notebook.
Well, that's a major improvement.
Yep.
You'll see my crappy graphs are in Excel. Yeah, that looks great, man.
I will give it a try. I just want to see if I can do the annotation.
Yeah.
Let's see. Does anybody use Markdown out of curiosity for math?
I do.
Okay.
At least for this.
If I have any questions, I might ask you about that, if that's okay. How do I annotate? Oh, annotate. Draw.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's at least as good as a whiteboard screen. Half the times when you go to the whiteboard, the pens don't work, so. Anybody else have a desire to give it a shot?
I can go.
All right.
Which screen am I sharing?
We're seeing a mess of everything.
Whoops, sorry. It's complicated. Sorry, maybe someone else can go while I'm trying to fix this.
Well, we're in no hurry. Don't be sick. Be well. Yeah, it looks great. Oh, wow. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, great. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
I have a question for whoever was just sharing. Did you use like an iPad or anything?
Yep, I was using iPad and Apple Pencil.
Does anyone who has an iPad know if like you can silence your notifications while they're on, or if when you're sharing a certain screen, will your notifications still pop up?
You can probably put it on Do Not Disturb.
So that's what I was thinking, but usually when you put it on Do Not Disturb, if it's unlocked, you still get the notifications.
When you share on an iPad, does it give you an option to just share like certain windows? Because I know that when I'm doing it just from my laptop, it shouldn't, the other notifications don't pop up when I'm sharing just a specific window.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. On the iPad, yeah, you can select certain screens. I just didn't know if it would still show up.
Well, we'll probably find out at some point. Hopefully the notification won't be too embarrassing if it comes up.
It might be the show previews, but if you go to notifications under settings, you can set it to never.
Anybody else want to give it a try? Well, I think that's about it for class. If you decide you have some questions between now and Tuesday, drop me an email and I will probably respond. Maybe not if it's in the middle of the night or some other time. We'll see you Tuesday. Come on.